Hello everyone, welcome back to Namma Laex Bengaluru presents current issue of the day. In today's episode, we'll discuss about the raging war, that is USA versus Venezuela, USA versus Greenland, USA versus NATO, and USA versus the world. In today's episode, we'll discuss what President Trump recently tweeted about Venezuela and what is this complete invasion of Venezuela actually about. So, before I start the video, let me give you an age-old adage that is normally used in geopolitics. What is it? World hears the argument of power. World hears the argument of power, but not the power of argument. Hope it is clear to you. We are actually seeing this in real time now. We are actually hearing the argument of power, that is USA is the power and USA's argument is considered as the truth now. But what it should be the case is we should hear the power of argument. The power of argument is against USA. USA is actually the villain here. But what is it being made out? It is being made out as Venezuela as the villain and USA as the savior. So that is how geopolitics works in the world. Power of argument is less in compared to the argument of power. With this, let us start the video. So, Venezuela oil, the power. The USA is trying to capture a nation. So, what is it? What is the important question here? Can the sitting president of one country decide the future of another sovereign country? Is the growing US-Venezuela confrontation really about democracy, or is it about oil, power, and global dominance? So, let me show you a news article recently. So recently there was a news article saying Trump clarifies who is ultimately in charge of Venezuela. That is me. Trump declares himself as the Venezuelan president. So Trump recently tweeted in Twitter as well saying acting president of Venezuela. He took a screenshot of Wikipedia page which shows Trump as the president of president of Venezuela, and he tweeted how shameless a person can be to tweet or screenshot a Wikipedia page and share on his official Twitter page or official X.com page, being the president of largest country in the world. So that is how shameless he has become now. So declared that he is the president of Venezuela. Being a president of USA, he is acting as a president of another country, a sovereign country controlling another sovereign country. That is happening in real time now. Next. So what is it about? The big question is the diplomatic earthquake of 2026. That is, United States has also said that it will control Venezuelan oil exports indefinitely. So I will show you another news article which was covering this aspect. USA says it will cover Venezuela, or it will control Venezuelan oil sales indefinitely. So it was never about democracy, it was never about drug control, it was never about people, it was about oil. So USA is going to control oil sales of Venezuela indefinitely. Next, in the early 2026, a senior US administration statement created a global shock. This single declaration effectively means Washington will decide who Venezuela sells oil to, how it should sell oil, and where the revenue should go. There is no timeline and no sunset clause. This is being projected as a permanent control. Imagine if India goes and controls Pakistan and says that we are going to control Pakistani economy. We are going to say that we are going to sell their oil, we are going to sell their minerals to other countries depending on our basis, depending on our need. That is what is happening with US and Venezuela. And no one is saying anything. No one is batting an eye except a tiny country of Denmark. That too because Trump has an eye on eye on Greenland. Next. So Venezuela matters. Why does Venezuela matter so much to Trump? For that we have to understand the Venezuelan resources. That is 303 barrels of proven oil reserves are there in Venezuela. This is highest among all the countries, be it Saudi Arabia, be it Russia, Iraq, etc., etc. So the highest oil resources are present in Venezuela. So it holds world's largest proven oil resources, which is greater than Saudi Arabia, Russia, Iran, and Iraq combined. Despite the resources, it produces barely 1 million barrels per day. because of sanctions, lack of infrastructure, and technology gaps. So USA sees an opportunity here, sees the resource capacity of Venezuela here. So that is why it is trying to conquer a sovereign country and make the resources their own. So this makes Venezuela a resource rich but production poor, which makes it the perfect geopolitical target for USA. So this is the global comparison of different oil producing rich countries: Venezuela followed by Saudi Arabia, then Iran, Iraq, United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait, Russia, Libya, and USA. So USA has already let me tell you a simple story here. So USA attacked Libya in around 2008. USA then attacked Iraq as well in around 2004 because of Saddam Hussein. USA also is attacking Iran here now. So in 2024 onwards, it is attacking here, and USA has attacked Venezuela now. What is the commonality here? All those countries are resource rich. All these countries are oil rich. You might ask, then why is USA not attacking Saudi Arabia? Why is it not attacking UAE? Why is it not attacking Kuwait? Why is it not attacking Russia? I will tell you here. Russia is too big to be attacked, so Russia is exempted here. But with respect to Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia, here comes the Monroe Doctrine. Monroe Doctrine. In that, the Henry Kissinger, under that Monroe, who was the president, Monroe was the president during 1820s. He provided a Monroe Doctrine, which means no countries or European countries are allowed to trade in South America. Don't want any pressure of European countries in South America, in Latin America. So they want to maintain their own, that is USA's own control over South America. Under this Monroe Doctrine, Henry Kissinger in the 1970s went to Saudi Arabia and all the USA allies and said that whatever you are going to produce the oil, produce it. You are free to sell it, but sell it in USA dollars. Sell it through USA dollars, which ultimately converted USA into international currency. It converted USA dollar into international currencies. So Saudi Arabia agreed to this, Arab Emirates agreed to this, Kuwait agreed to this. But Libya in 2000s decided to sell its oil not in dollar but in its own currency between different dealers. So USA attacked Libya. Then Iraq under Saddam Hussein decided to sell under their own currency, sell between Russia, sell between different countries through their own currency. So USA attacked it. Then Iran also are doing the same thing and they're attacking. Venezuela also did the same thing under President Maduro, and they're doing the same thing here. You might ask why it is so big thing. So here you have to understand the concept of petrodollar nexus. Petrodollar nexus. So when all the petroleum related products are sold through dollar as the means of exchange, dollar as the means of currency, then petrol keeps on increasing, and also in proportion to that the dollar demand also keeps on increasing, making the complete economy of the world dependent on this particular dollar. But if any country which is rich in petrol decides to move away from dollar and sell their oil in their own dollars, for example Russia in rubles and Iran with reals. So if at all a country decides to sell in these currencies or do currency swaps, then it is going to reduce the dollar demand, which is going to impact this petrodollar nexus. So whenever a country moves away from this petrodollar nexus, the USA is going to find a reason and attack it. In Libya, they considered Gaddafi as a dictator and attacked Libya. In Iraq, they said Saddam Hussein houses weapons of mass destruction and attacked it. With respect to Iran, they said Iran is building nuclear weapons and they attacked it. With respect to Venezuela, they said Venezuela doing narco-terrorism on USA, so they attacked it. So any reason, small reason is enough for them to attack a country which is going against USA. So again, here comes the argument of power. Next, the real American unveiled here. The real American plan is unveiled here. What is the real American plan? One is control the Venezuelan oil. That is, establish direct oversight of extraction and export operations. And second is refine in American refineries. There are so many countries, there are so many refineries of companies in America which do the refineries. All this extraction of oil is done in Venezuela and then taken to refineries in USA, and where they are refined there. So process crude oil in USA facilities to capture value added production, and finally sell globally. So distribute the refined production through American trading networks such as Exxon, such as Chevrolet, etc., etc. Next, capture the revenue stream. Despite all the proceeds in the USA, deposit all the proceeds in, very important point here, USA controlled accounts indefinitely. So this is what is being criticized by Venezuelan current regime. And finally, reshape the Venezuela. So use oil leverage to influence the politics, economy, and the alliances in Venezuela. So that is the USA actual plan is. That is the plan of USA. So officials have openly admitted that oil control is essential to influence Venezuela's future trajectory. This has been like what to say. This was already on the cards years ago. That is what happened with Libya. That is what happened with Iraq, and that is also was predicted with Venezuela. When Venezuela decided to go socialist, when Venezuela decided to go away from the petrodollar nexus, it was decided. The fate of Venezuela is decided then and there itself. Despite the regime changes, despite the presidential change in USA, one of the major agenda of USA was to always get control of Venezuela's oil. Next, American oil giants are already ready. Chevron is already engaged in preliminary discussions about Venezuelan field investment. Second, ExxonMobil evaluating the infrastructure rebuilding opportunities across the multiple regions again. And finally, other US majors being encouraged to invest, extract, and repatriate profits under the new framework. Again, see, if their idea was actually to focus on Venezuelan democracy or Venezuelan people, then they would have extracted and repaid in Venezuela only and deposited the money in Venezuelan accounts only, so that it can be used for Venezuelan people. But what they are doing is they are only extracting the oil from Venezuela and then refining it USA and depositing the money in USA only. So the aim is to just get profit out of it. This is backed by most of the important capitalist companies of USA. That is what happens always in the USA case. So meetings have already taken place. The corporate's machinery is being positioned to move swiftly once the political arrangements are finalized. So why China is concerned here? There is a question about China is concerned and China is furious. Why? Because there are billions at stake. What do you mean billions at stake? Because China has provided Venezuela with massive oil-backed loans over the past decade. Repayment was happening through crude oil. Repayment was happening through crude oil shipments, a strategic energy arrangement that secured both nations' interests. But now Venezuela is under the control of USA. As a result, China is very furious. So who is going to pay back our loans? We already paid to Venezuela, and who is going to pay us back now? So the US takeover now threatens China's loan recovery mechanism, China's long-term energy security, and China's geopolitical influence in the Latin America. This is not just USA versus Venezuela. This is also USA versus China in Latin America. So you might see China plays by the debt book policy. So under this, it has paid and it has given so much of loans to different countries such as Niger, Chad, Egypt, Algeria, Uganda, Mozambique, etc. And China has also provided lots of money in the Latin America country as well. So China's debt book policy or debt trap policy is being countered by USA's hard policies. Okay. Next, why is India concerned then? Excuse me. Why is India considered? The India question and the controlled energy. So first is India is being pressurized by USA to reduce its oil dependence on Russia. First is Venezuelan oil can be sold to India under the Washington control. So USA is saying stop importing from Russia now because we have Venezuelan oil. We are going to export to you. So stop the dependency on USA. So Russia. Pressure on Russian oil. So it is simultaneously being pressurized to reduce our Russian oil imports following the Ukraine-related sanctions. And controlled substitute Venezuelan oil crude become a Washington-approved alternative, but with the strings attached. See, again, so whatever the interests of different allies are involved here, depending on that, they are asking India to act upon. So USA is asking India to reduce import from Venezuela, sorry, reduce import from Russia, whereas European countries such as Denmark is requesting India to uh, vehemently oppose USA. See, previously when the Palagam attack happened, no one came to the support of USA, not even USA, no one came in support of India, not even USA, not even the European countries. Many European countries questioned it, saying that India has done it on its own. And many of the European countries also criticized India for importing oil from Russia, focusing on its national interest. But now they're asking India to outrightly criticize USA and help their countries. So where was that backlash when Pakistan vehemently attacked India through Palgam attack? So that is what geopolitics happens against on their national interest. So most of the countries are selfish, and India should also learn the lesson and be selfish in these aspects. So where does the money actually go? As I told you, the most critical point here is the money is deposited in the USA accounts. Okay, money is deposited in the USA controlled account and on the Venezuelan government coffers, and they have said that this money will be used for Venezuelan welfare and construction. But the critics have the question, the rightful question is, if Washington controls the money, who really controls the Venezuela's future? Who decides what constitutes welfare and what oversight exists? Okay, so that is the question here. This arrangement effectively makes Venezuela a resource colony without formal annexation. That is what used to happen in India and other colonies prior to independence. So they are made a colony. They used to take resources from India and take it back to their own countries, that is Britain, and provide welfare to the Britain countries. And they would say, we are going to help Indians by taking the money. But that was never the case. That is what is happening here. We are seeing a new kind of colonization by USA here. Next, Venezuela pushes back. So Venezuelan interim leader. Who is the interim leader? Venezuela's interim leader is Delcy Rodriguez. Delcy Rodriguez, she was the vice president under President Maduro, and she has been made as a president now, and she has criticized and she has pushed back USA. That is, this was always about oil, and all the allegations of drug, democracy and human rights violations are excuses. The real motive is the energy greed of the North. So she has said, we are going to oppose it vehemently. And also there is a question about debt myth, that USA has almost 38 trillion debt, and they are trying to use this Venezuelan oil to repay the debt. But the overall cost of, or overall what is the worth of the Venezuelan current Venezuelan resources is around 17 trillion. So it is not going to completely fill this 38 trillion gap of the USA, or 38 trillion debt of the USA, but they are extractable over the decades, and Venezuelan oil cannot repay the US debt completely, but it can permanently expand American global energy power and geopolitical leverage over the multiple continents. So the question about USA using this to pay its debt is a myth actually. So who controls the energy controls the world. So power over law, as I told you, not the power of argument, not the argument of power, but the power of argument. Next, military and economic might override in the established international frameworks, and Trump says that I don't need any international laws to control a country, and resource sovereignty is threatened in this case. So most of the countries will take this as an example and start attacking smaller countries. Next, energy as weapon, natural resources becoming tools of coercion rather than trade commodities, and new Cold War. Resource geopolitics emerging as a defining battleground of the 21st century. So this might be just the start of Third World War. I hope it is not the start. This might just be the start of Third World War. So this is not just about Trump. This is not just about Maduro. This is not just about US and Venezuela anymore. This is about the world. This is about who controls the world's energy and thereby controls the world's future. The Venezuela crisis template, a test case for the resource control might look like in the coming decades. So this can be seen in different smaller countries will be pursued or pressurized by the larger countries. So again, let us hope common sense prevails in the world and people start recognizing the power of argument rather than the argument of power. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.